Hey guys, what's up? It's Ripe again. In today's video, a smug Karen steals the house of a lonely widow and then sells it. She tries this scheme again and again and actually succeeds. We teach her a lesson she won't forget. Here is what happened. Subscribe to Ripe on YouTube and hit the bell to turn on notifications. Hey guys, I'm Slovenian, so my English is not that great. I hope you don't mind. The story I'm about to tell you takes place in a town in Slovenia. The town is pretty small, quiet and clean. The neighbors are amazing, very friendly and helpful, except for Karen. She always finds something she does not like and she always finds reasons to fight with everyone. For the first time in a long time, a very sad thing happened in our town, which was a man died. The man and his wife lived very close to me. I could see their house from my bedroom. He died in an accident and she was now alone. She went back to her country house and left his house almost empty. She still paid the taxes and so on, but she did not visit or anything else. Soon after the widow left, I started seeing weird things around and inside her house. Lights on in the middle of the night and noises. At first I thought the house was haunted by the husband, but one day I saw Karen. I hear Karen going inside the house and staying there for hours. I saw that she kept leaving and then coming back. I did not know anything about the house situation or the widow, so I decided not to interfere with anyone's business. Maybe the widow left her the key to take care of the house while she is gone, I said, talking to another neighbor. Come on, let's be serious. She would never leave her the key. Something is not right, replied my neighbor. Karen is the one everyone trusts the least. They fought so many times she wouldn't do that, she added. I watched Karen going inside the widow's house every day. One day I decided to pass by and ask her what was happening. I rang the doorbell and Karen opened up the door. Her hair was wet and she was in a bathrobe, a sign that she was using the house. Hey, how can I help you? Asked Karen. I'm busy, she added. I just wanted to ask you if you need help. I assume that the owner left you to take care of the house while she is gone, I said. What owner? I'm the owner now, she replied. What are you talking about? How can you be the owner? Did she sell the house to you? I asked her. Come in, let me show you something, she said. She brought some documents with her name on them and handed them to me. She probably altered all the documents that were left in the house to show her name. I was not sure that the documents were photoshopped, but they looked like it. This is illegal. Breaking into someone's house, falsifying documents, I said. I did not falsify any documents. She gave me the house. I offered myself to take care of the house while she is gone and she gave it to me, replied Karen. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know that, I replied. I was trying to make sure you know how many crazy people are out there. Stay out of my business, she said, closing the door. I left and told my other neighbor what I just talked about with Karen. I was confused and I didn't know what to believe. I did not want to annoy anyone, but I didn't trust Karen. I told you something is wrong. She falsified the documents. We've got to get the owner's phone number from somewhere, said the neighbor. I will ask other neighbors too. Someone has to have her phone number, I replied. One day I was outside in the garden when I saw Karen and a young couple entering the house. They came out after half an hour and Karen handed them something, which was a key. The next day I saw the couple moving in, bringing their furniture and clothes. Everyone in the neighborhood was shocked and we did not know exactly what to do. Soon after this, my neighbor called me to give me some more info about Karen. She is doing the same thing to another house, she said. What? I asked, confused. There is an abandoned house next to me. The owners left 2 years ago, but they still come home for the summers. I saw Karen breaking in yesterday. The widow did not leave her house. She is stealing them. It's time we call the police, she said. The police were called and the widow too. The discussion with the police was a very long one. Karen tried to explain that she did not do anything bad. The widow did not really understand what happened to her house and the rest of us were just there. She left the house empty. She left and she didn't need it, shouted Karen. As for the other houses, they are never home. The house sits empty for nothing, she added. Ma'am, it's her house. You cannot just break in and sell people's houses, said the police officer. You falsified documents and sold properties that were not yours. You are ending up in jail, added the policeman. The couple that just moved into the widow's house was also confused. We are sorry for the situation, but you will have to move out, said the policeman to the young couple. No, stay. I could rent it to you if you want, said the widow. I would be happy if someone would take care and live in the house, she added, smiling. It would be a pleasure. "Thank you so much, ma'am," said the young man. In the end, everyone was happy except for Karen, who still did not understand what exactly she did wrong. After the whole situation was clarified, Karen was arrested and sent to jail for breaking in someone's property, falsifying documents, and selling houses illegally. And yeah guys, if you still enjoy the stories about crazy, entitled people and especially neighbors, then please don't forget to post some star emojis in the comments, because that would help me tremendously. The next one is titled "How I Got Revenge on a Company." So I am working in a metal manufacturing plant that fabricated appliance faces, washing machines, dryer, etc. and shelving for fridges and other such things. I enjoyed my job as it was pretty laid back. Granted, I was hired on just before Thanksgiving of 2003, just after my daughter was born. There was a strike going on and I became a replacement worker. Normally, I don't like crossing union strike lines, but not all of them walked out to strike, and I had a daughter that was born in July and I needed the money desperately. I was working the welding machine forever, making the shelving frames and packing them in crates to go to the paint department for a powder coat. One day, however, the machine that cut the rods stopped working and we couldn't get it going again, and the engineers said it would be a week or two for parts, so I hopped over to the 12-ton stamping machine and started helping out. We moved dies in and out with a forklift and then have to bolt them in. It was rather high up, so we had a staircase-style ladder on wheels. The wheels would retract when you outweighed on the steps. At least they were supposed to. We had warned our supervisors that they needed to fix these damn things because the wheels would randomly pop back out. That said, they did and had it retagged as safe. This was complete BS. I was up there one night tightening the top bolts on the open die when they popped up. I went over the rail and the thing went the opposite way. I pretty much performed a half gainer and fell into the open die, bounced off with my right shoulder and fell 9 feet to the floor on the same shoulder. I laid there in some scrap pieces and oil for about 10 minutes while my partner and friend Shields came over to help me. He helped me up and then stepped back saying, "Oh damn!" Slowly the pain creeped in. I turned my head and looked, and my shoulder was fully separated and pushing in the front. I walked over to the supervisor with my partner and told him what happened. He looked at my shoulder and pushed on it and said, "It's just muscles you haven't used before." Shields responded with, "What the hell? Me?" I was more tactful. "You bald-headed idiot. Did the radiation from the sun scorch your brain, or was it the fumes in the paint department getting to you again?" "I need to go to the hospital." He relented and said okay, but he docked me a point like an a-hole and I had to drive myself. In a damn manual car. That was fun. Hours later, they managed to reduce me and gave me a lot of painkillers and muscle relaxers. I went in the next day before my shift and talked to HR. My arm was in a sling. They set me up with a company doctor and then sent me home. The next day I saw the doctor and he did several tests, reviewed the x-rays and scheduled an MRI. He also refilled my medicine. He wanted me off work until the MRI results and they agreed. After the results we did physical therapy, which did not help. My shoulder just kept subluxing, coming out of socket and slamming back in, or rather dislocating fully. Finally I got a call from work and they wanted me to come in. The doctor approved me for light duty, and this is where it gets fun. I am in a sling. I am really jacked up on narcotics. They want me to inspect the running machines and then sweep and clean them without shutting them off. I explained that I could do it if they were off, but I'm not comfortable around moving active machines because I'm not really aware and I'm honestly high as crap on these painkillers. They said, "Well, we're not gonna pay you while you're sitting at home playing up your injury." I asked them if they had seen the doctor results. No, of course not, so they should trust their company doctor and HR, so they set me to sweeping. Which is not a big deal as it was a giant open area, but eventually that ran out. I started getting everyone's paperwork for them and filling them out and helping out with QA and measuring the parts to make sure they were in spec. It was going good. Too good. So they took a bar stool and set me in an open area where the manager desks were. They did not let me have a desk, they did not let me do paperwork. They would not even let me bring a book or anything to write on. My OG supervisor was fired at some point for something not related to anything really, so I had the original supervisor that hired me and he was an ass. I seriously got up and went to piss, and he yelled and carried on like a douchebag. I asked him if he was done and he got red-faced. I asked him why he had me sitting here doing nothing, and he said, "Well, you're so hurt, ho ho ho." So the next day I brought in a dunce cap I made and a little sign that said I was being punished for being injured. I talked to HR, whom said they couldn't do anything about it, even though I had other odds and ends I could do that was beneficial and helped the company out. I asked if it was really necessary for me to sit on a bar stool like I was in timeout when I was 25 years old because I got injured due to their crappy ladder that they lied about. She said that they could not pay for me to sit at home, so I wore the dunce cap and held the sign all night. The entire time I was going through the doctor's visits and gearing up for her surgery, and it was looking like I was going to be out for a while. We are about 3 weeks into this crap at this point. I end up being told to go and sort pants by the a-hole supervisor. The parts were coming off of a conveyor near a stamping machine and needed 2 hands on to move. He told me to make do or I am fired, so I go over there pissed off, and 5 hours into it I am sore as hell from doing this left-handed and I'm getting bitched because I'm slow. And then it happens. I pull muscles in my left arm, back and neck from being a dumbass and not standing up for myself. He curses me up one side and down the other and just takes me to the ER and drops me off. They see me and confirmed and gave me the paperwork. I thought he was waiting in the parking lot, but he actually left. I had to call my mother to come get me, and I was really effed up from all the paint shots. The next day I call into HR and they fire me because I had pointed out and I was on drugs. I had never missed a shift save from the doctor's appointments, going to the ER and physical therapy. Even then, I went in right after my appointments. I was pissed. Yep, definitely pissed off. So I go to my next scheduled doctor's appointment and he gives me my date for surgery. I go through the surgery, recover and do physical therapy while gathering all of my paperwork and preparing to take this to a lawyer. I am finally cleared and declared healed, and then it happens. One day I'm getting up off the couch, my little girl is cradled in my left arm and I push off with my just healed right. Nothing too bad or strenuous, it blows out the back this time. I fell and cracked my head on our entertainment center, bleeding and cursing like hell. It was either take the bump or land on my daughter. ER visit again and they reduce it and say that it looks like I may have muscle damage from what just happened, all the subluxus and what originally happened. I tell the company doctor at the next visit and he not only tells me that this isn't true, but that I am taking advantage of him. He took the sling off and threw it in a garbage can and says there is nothing more he can do for me. The next day, wearing a new sling, my mother walks me into one of the most vicious lawyers in the city. 2 days later, I am seeing a new doctor and getting all sorts of tests. They inject dye with a huge needle that they scraped across the bone, and damn, I don't recommend it. They say there is so much damage that I need another immediate surgery because I am omnidirectional and the first doctor should have been able to see it. As my new one is looking at my old results, he shows me on the MRIs where he can tell how it was apparent in the beginning. Translation: the company doctor half-assed my first surgery and the company is trying to fight me on this, but eventually they relented and I get my surgery. I've got 3 anchors in my right shoulder holding me together. I have to now go to checkups every 6 months, even years later, and I'm now looking at another surgery because there is nerve damage. My lawyer finishes up with them and I won a several thousand, into the 6-figure area, dollar lawsuit from not only the company but the doctor as well. Not 5 months after, the company announced they were bankrupt and we are closing their doors. The crappy supervisor tried to get a job at another factory where my friend was well respected and he knew what was going on. That guy did not get the job and we all ran into him last year. He was working fast food. I would like to think that I had a hand in the company's demise. It would have been good if they had just taken care of me. I would not have sued if they didn't F me over and tried to get me to quit through embarrassment. Edit: I corrected several $1,000s into a more accurate 6-figure area quote without giving away an exact amount. My apologies. And yes, I know that crossing a strike line was not smart, but there were not a lot of decent paying jobs in the area with the favorable hours at the time. I had a newborn that needed a lot of attention due to being under the lights with a temperature check every hour and force feeding her every 2. My girlfriend could not do all the time as the lack of sleep was catching up to her and making her postpartum worse. I did what I had to do to help my family at the time, and I learned a valuable if painful lesson. I know it might not be a juicy, satisfying revenge to most, but I'm ultimately content with the outcome of them having to pay up. My medical bills covered and going back to college all the while, my daughter is well taken care of. Titled Lawyer Blocks Disabled Park. Boy oh boy, do I have a story for you guys. So this all started a week ago when a guy parked in the no parking zone marked between two disabled bays across the road from where I work. For those who don't know, this section is for disabled people to get their wheelchairs in and out from their van lifts, and it is the space for the little ramp that goes up onto the pathway, etc. Which is why it needs to be kept clear all the time. So I work in a tiny cafe section of a supermarket which has its busy times but also has its quiet times. That day was one of the latter. About 5 to 10 minutes after this man parked there, a customer parked in one of the disabled bays next to him and began to get their wheelchair out. Shake my head. As I had a quick second, I crossed the road to the man who was only a few meters away from the parking spaces, sitting at a restaurant. Me, "G'day mate, would you mind moving your car for me please?" A customer is trying to get their wheelchair out and you have blocked them from using the access ramp to the footpath. Him, "Okay," gets up. Me, "Thanks," gets back to work. He did not seem sorry or ashamed, but whatever. He seemed to have gotten the point. Back from my window though, I saw him watch the disabled user get their wheelchair out in spite of his car and didn't make any attempt to move it. Though I thought I had explained pretty clearly and respectfully without chastising him why it is not okay to park there. Though I thought the no parking lines would be a clear enough message. I just shook my head in disbelief at how this guy had no shame at all and was just taking the piss. I was too busy though. I nearly tried to find an opportunity to come back over and ask him, "What happened to moving your car?" But by the time I had a second, he was gone. Oh, also, the entire time he was watching, he was standing right next to about 2 or 3 free actual parking spaces. I definitely gave him too much credit to think that even if he had thought it was okay before. There's no excuse not to move now, since several spaces had now freed up. Fast forward a week, guys, and this is where we kick things up a notch. So just yesterday, I see this guy pull the same stunt again. Only this time, he parks his car, gets out, sees me see him, and shaking my head in disbelief again, and he gives a big cheeky wave. It is a super quiet day, so I go over there instantly and chat to him. You will have to excuse me for not remembering exactly how our conversation went line by line, because as you will see how weird this interaction got, he was throwing me curveballs all over the place. Me, "G'day mate, so do you remember last week how I explained to you when you park there it blocks my customers from being able to use their wheelchairs and access their ramp?" Him, "So?" Me, "Yeah, you cannot park there, please mate." Him, "Who are your customers? Where do you work?" Me, "You know exactly where I work, you just waved at me." Him, trying super hard to scare me now, "Who's your manager?" Stares hard at my name badge for about 30 seconds as we continue our conversation. "His name is XX, you are more than welcome to chat to him, I don't really mind, but you cannot park there." Him, "Tell him to call me, I come here to get lunch and you're trying to be a hero, I will F you up." I genuinely found this hilarious as he was a good 15 centimeter or so shorter than me and didn't seem like he knew much about fighting. Not to mention, he was nowhere near level-headed enough for a fight now. Me, standing my ground, "Why are you being rude, mate?" Him, "I'm not being rude, that's a loading zone, people are allowed to park there." Me, "No it's not. It's a no parking and you're not loading anything anyway. Whatever, I've got a job to get back to." Walks back across the road. So, old mate decides to follow me into the supermarket and begins to call me a racist, he is Indian, and that I'm just jealous because he was driving a Mercedes. I didn't even know or care, I genuinely thought it was a BMW. And, "That is why you work in a coffee shop." To which I said, "Feel better?" Both he and I walk over to my colleague at the same time and ask my colleague to call XX, the store manager. My colleague realizes something serious is going on and promptly gets the manager, and I walk back over to my little cafe section with my new friend back in tow. Still getting personal with the insults, and I just stand there knowing it has nothing to do with me. Hand on heart, I swear, he even tried to play the race card again and said something about how I am just jealous because a black man's driving a Merc, which I thought was laughable. I thought Indians are brown. Did he just think it sounded cool to identify as black? I don't know, I digress once again. So I told him, loudly enough for nearby customers to hear and get their attention, not to keep threatening me. I also said, just be careful mate, there are cameras right here, which I pointed out. Him, I don't care. Anyway, while he is now going full Karen on me, all of the managers finally come down basically all at once, and he says to my store manager, I want to talk to you outside. Manager, yeah sure, it's a nice day, let's go outside. Not sure why, so I cannot hear? So he's not in others' territory? In view of the cameras? From what I saw, this guy is still going at top speed at my manager, and as I pieced together later from what manager told me, my manager finally got a word in and said, okay, may I speak now? Aaron is right. You cannot park there. Oh, by the way, I should mention my manager has a disabled parking badge as his son is in a wheelchair and needs to make use of this exact type of parking. I'm honestly getting r/that happened vibes just from typing this out, but I swear on my grave I'm not making up a single part of how this all unfolded. Upon realizing that my manager is on my side, this guy apparently used all the same insults and tactics he tried with me, calling the manager a racist, jealous, etc. He also threatened him. Manager is significantly taller than me and therefore way taller than that guy, so naturally my manager simply laughed, took a photo of his parking and walked back inside. The manager then comes over too and fist bumps me and tells me I did a good job. No, everybody did not clap, but once again, I swear I'm not embellishing any of this. Later on we learned that this guy tried to email the head office to once again tell the same lies to them about me, my manager, and apparently, as I gave away in the title, he is a practicing solicitor. He then included his full name and phone number, which I don't have, but I do find it funny that he thought he was going to get far when I could easily have more dirt on him than he could have on me. We have joked about messaging his work, for example, to tell them of his behavior. I feel very lucky to have a manager who is perfectly professional and still has no problem standing up for both myself and his employees, and I've actually got a couple more stories like this if enough people are interested, but I don't feel much need to post them unless they entertain you guys enough, so let us know.